Decided to shake it up a little bit instead of when they stare there contemplating their phones and their neighbors. Thank you all for showing up today. The topic for today's discussion is going to be cash advance journals. I know a lot of times some of you may have struggled with cash advances and how to apply for them, how to settle them, how to get everything done the right way. You may have had journals denied, you know, the struggle is real. So we're here to try and help and talk about this today. My name is Brett Kenny. I'm the University Cash Manager for University and Accounting Services.
I am Bernice Rebell. I've been in accounting services for about 3 years. And it's good to see faces. A lot of you all, I do talk on the phone daily. So welcome to my world.
Bernice handles pretty much all of the university's cash advances that are OSR related. So here in our cash management team, we have 2 other folks, Shreya Mullicar and Tam Gordonson. And essentially what we do is we manage the university's bank accounts, make sure that we have liquidity, pay the university's bills, we fund pay cycles that go through a couple a day. Make sure you guys have the money that ends up in your bank accounts every other week or end of the month. So it's pretty important. And we also take care of cash advances. We handle the prepaid card program for the university. We assist with tax filings. We send a lot of foreign and domestic wires. So anything kind of touching the banks, we do. Glad you guys are here today. It's kind of a disclaimer. We're going to talk about the university cash advance process. If you deal or handle a lot of OSR-related cash advances, their process is a little bit different, but there's probably going to be some resources in this presentation that's going to help you out as far as taking care of your cash advances. So if it's got a chart field that begins with the 252 fund or has a project ID, if you want a very specific kind of the process that OSR does, I just advise you to get in touch with them. There's a lot of good information here too. So we're going to answer these following questions in this presentation, kind of get an idea of what those are, and basically going to walk you through the entire process of the cash advance. Yeah, so you copy right there? I'm sorry. So this is a handout. It's not the PowerPoint, but it is a handout with some additional information. So you can get that out. Has anyone else not received it? There's some more copies on the back as well. Essentially, you may wonder, what is a cash advance? Essentially, it's a loan that we're giving to you all in the expectation that you all will use the money for a expense that is allowable by the university. It's paid. Recent change in the last year used to be by check. Now it's via ACH into the vendor, your bank account. If you're getting the cash advance out, it should show up in your bank account, saying that you get paid for your payroll. And that the policy is that they must be reconciled within 60 days via journal entry or deposit if necessary. Can you use a cash advance? Really, the policy on cash advances explains it can be used for these following reasons, but really the rule is more in the exception that these are the things that you cannot use a cash advance for. These are not allowable expenses. Payment to an employee for services, payment to an independent contractor, including a guest lecturer for services, a cash reward to an employee. The exclusion to that rule is if you're giving an employee stipend payment by a gift card or a gift certificate, you can't use a cash advance to go out and get a gift card for that person. Just whenever you reconcile that gift, you would have to give in the reconciling journal entry, use the correct account code for employee stipend. Those stipends are reported to human resources since it is income to the person, and that would go in the W-2. You can't use it for an employee who's on another state agency payroll, like UNT hospitals. Cannot use it for the purchase of event tickets, athletic events, performing arts, other university events from any source. And also can't be used for travel reimbursements that follows How do you get a cash advance?
So how do you get a cash advance? We get a cash advance by entering an accountant's voucher. And I assume all of you all do vouchers, so you can leave with doing vouchers. So you know the process for defining it. What concerns cash advances mostly, what we're looking for is the what open item number do you use? We're looking at the open item number is the vendor number. That's key for us because once we have that vendor number, it establishes a tracking for the cash advance. So also on the voucher, we're going to look when that comes into us, we're looking for certain things on your voucher. So if you look at your handout, we'll go into that a little depth, page 1 of the handout. And if you didn't get a handout, let us know. Okay, so on your voucher, and you create your voucher, and when it comes to our department of settlement, we're going to be looking to see a couple of things. We're looking to see about your journal line description, how you describe in the voucher. That's very, very important because the ultimate goal when you get a cash advance is to sell that cash advance. And it starts with your voucher. It's really, really important. This is the first document we look at before we can decide whether or not to prove the settlement journal. So on your voucher, we're looking for your line description, and that's a certain format that has to be in. How many people do cash advances here today? Okay, great, great. Then you can answer all the questions. So what is the format of the journal line description that we ask for all the time? This is one thing that we really start enforcing. Anybody else? Yes, perfect. And that's called the naming convention. And that's really, really important because as I said, when you create your voucher, it goes into this queue and it's waiting for the journal settlement. And we're going to match those lines up and close it out. But if the journal line description is not correct, then we have a really, really hard time matching it. So that's one reason why your settlement journal may be denied. Okay, so let's look at the voucher. We want to know about your journal line description. We want to look at your chart filtering. We look at the fund. So when you're setting up your voucher, think about the fund that you're using. Is it an allowable fund? The source. Does your source allow for a cash advance? Sources have certain purposes, and so we have to make sure that you use the source, but is it a source that allows cash advance? Then we look at the account number. Who knows the account number for cash advance? 3920. That is the account number we look for. OSR does cash advances, but it has a different account number. So we're looking to see if you use the correct account number on the voucher. Then also we're looking at the open item key, and that is key to us being able to help you sell your cash advance and close your open item. The open item number is the vendor's number. I think we all have vendor numbers in the system. So whoever's getting this particular voucher, his or her vendor number is assigned to this voucher. So when you go into your voucher, this is a voucher. So when you go into your system to set this up, you'll input your open item number, the vendor's ID number. And so that's going to track this for us. So also on your voucher, you all determine whether or not you need a program code or any type of cost code. So the thing to remember is whatever you put on your voucher, we're going to be looking for that throughout this whole cash advance process. So that is the beginning of the process. Yes,
Question that you go on, so this is for state, FNA, and trust sources. That's the account number you use. Did you said non-sponsored?
Non-OSR. OSR.
So sponsored funds.
Yes.
It has a different.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
That's right.
I do both. So.
You do? Okay. Okay. And that's good to know because sometimes when people do both, they think they can just run all the way through.
Exactly.
Or cross over.
I did.
Yes, honey.
I always just want that. Make sure you get a cash advance on the state.
You can't get a cash advance in state funds.
No.
You know. That's why it's important to know your fund, which funds are trust and FNA, and there are several others also that you can use give cash advances. And there are good resources out in our directory. If you pull up maybe Google or search for trust funds or funds, cash advance, you'll see a good listing of what's allowed and what's not.
You said the only open item is the vendor ID?
Yes, it's the vendor's ID number.
And so,
Yes.
and then I'll talk a little bit more about the open item and how it relates to the whole process and the vendor. Essentially, if you want to know kind of the policy and procedures around cash advances, this is the link where you can find it. There's some forms and instructions. Whenever you get your cash advance voucher, you should attach the cash advance agreement and the application for the advancement of funds to the voucher. And then whenever you settle the cash advance via the journal entry, these are the three forms, and the three forms we'll be looking at via cash advance.
When I was actually on this website yesterday, and when I was looking at the forms, the only forms that I could find were the cash advance agreement for, it had a spot for OSR.
Mhm.
So can you use that and just not put in the project ID, or is it completely different forms?
I think it's one form.
Yes.
I've seen that
Just
one
one
also,
form, okay.
yes.
And that is confusing for some people because there's like a line on the bottom of the form, and then I think there's some additional information for
Mhm.
people who live for
And once you do your voucher, like I had here, once you do your voucher and attach your forms, it goes to accounts payable. And they are the ones who actually approve your voucher. And if you have the wrong form or they need more documentation, they will let you know. Right, thank you.
And we use the voucher as kind of the guiding document in the trickle stream in there because all the other stuff we can change. Kind of once the voucher is in place, it's more set in stone. The reconciliation of the cash.
How do you reconcile your cash advance? Your PR has gotten you for her voucher. They have purchased their gift cards or whatever else they're going to do with them. You're ready to sell your cash advance. You have to run a settlement journal to reconcile your cash advance. And when we review that, we are looking for all the very same information on your sheet. If you look at the campus settlement journal, we're going to review for the structure of your journal line description. We're going to look for your chart flow stream. Does that match what you have on your voucher? We're looking to see if you have the correct account number, 113920. If that's on your voucher, that has to be on your settlement journal. We're also going to look for the open item key, because that's important. When you did your voucher, it's sort of like that open item key took that information and put it in a little queue. Now, when you do your settlement journal, the open item key will take that same information, put it in that same queue. And in the end, we're going to go in and match those lines up. And sometimes when you have a voucher, let's say you get one for $500, they do not need to spend it all. Then a deposit has to be made. So the information that you're going to put on the deposit, chart stream, journal line description, all that, has to match your voucher, has to match your settlement journal. This is all a part of how we close your open items. And also, sometimes they spend more money than they have gotten the voucher for. So an additional voucher is necessary. So we need the very same information. It is critical that the very same information, journal line description, sharp field, program codes, cost codes that's put on the voucher, you put on that separate voucher. Documents that needs to be attached to your settlement journal when you get ready to reconcile your cash advance would be your cover sheet. You'll need to also scan in your receipts, your cash advance agreement. This is what you attach to the voucher. Your application, and if this is a cash advance to give employees awards for doing a good job and things like that, there's a form, employee award form that needs to be completed and attached. And this form needs to be signed by each employee who's a receipt.
So you asked the question, it's an excellent question. What is an open item? Essentially, an open item, it creates like a reconcilable item in Connect Carolina. So when you put in the open item, as Bernice said, it's essentially kind of a way to track the progress of all of the activity in Connect Carolina all the way through. So you get your voucher for a cash advance, you put in the open item. So basically, there's a page in Connect Carolina, and we'll show it later, that is the open item maintenance page that can then link that you got this voucher out, you've settled it with this this journal, or you had this other deposit that was made because maybe you took out a little bit too much money than what you needed. That open item, and then it's going to connect all of these through the entire system in Connect Carolina. So that's why it's important that the chart fill strings, the entire chart fill string, be exactly the same, and that open item is linked throughout. Because what Bernice ultimately does is after everything is approved, I'll show in a minute, we go into the open item maintenance page, and then we can close that out. I think right now, we figured out that probably in the last 3 years, we've been doing this wrong. And we figured out that there's probably thousands of open items hanging out in our system that we need to resolve just because of the way Connect Carolina is structured and just the way that things haven't been done properly on our end, accounting services, for the last couple of years. So that's why we're doing all. So essentially, the open item, it's your vendor ID. There's mine. It allows you to track transactions all the way through, and it has to be on all of the different documents as you go. How do we track?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Can you back it up one?
Sure.
So the vendor ID has a lot of zeros in front of it. Is it important to make sure you have those those zeros when you're putting your vendor ID number as an open item number?
Good question.
In your voucher, maybe your statute voucher,
Or a deposit or whatever else you're putting in.
yes, I would think so. It has space there. You all who create a voucher or something, you have that experience where you have to have those zeros.
Okay.
I think you have to have the zeros, otherwise it won't accept it.
For all of the ones that haven't been, there's not, I'm one of those ones that were attaching in the beginning, they're agreeing that if they don't do it in time or reconcile it, that it'll just be taken out of their account. Is there a reason why you just don't go back and do that and you got agree?
We've not threatened that, recently. I think in the last 20 years that under my director has been in accounting services, I think there's maybe 2 instances where we've actually gone after an employee to get their cash advance back, and we've taken it from their paycheck. Payroll and the staff person who can take the cash advance from the paycheck. It's probably about 30 steps from my office, and it's not too hard for me to walk over there and make that happen. So I would say, most people they're very good about reconciling their cash advances. It's just I think we haven't been good at approving the cash advance journal entries to make sure that everything reconciles correctly. People are putting in the documents they need. They're showing that this is an allowable expense, and they're wise stewards of the university. But we can go after it. So they take $1,000 cash advance and they take off the bonds.
A lot of them think that's what happens when I didn't, they lose track, they don't remember doing it, and then they just assume you guys are taking the money. Because you said you would, and it's like, no.
That's part of the cash advance agreement. They're authorizing us to do that.
And I think, Brett, we have this big open item project where you mentioned where we're cleaning up the open items with all departments. And I think that may be the preparation of, okay, are we going to really enforce these rules? But let's make sure it's not something on, our side where a code is missing, it's something we just didn't get reconciled out properly. What is the true picture for your department? We'll show you a report where you can pull out all the open items in your department. But is it true that they're still open, or have they been settled and the open item is just not closed? And is it not closed for what reason? So that's the part we're working on.
So essentially, this is how we track open items.
Tracking open items, what we've been talking about. There's a screen in Connect Carolina that we can go to, and we can put in the open item number and pull up all the cash advance transactions for that particular vendor. And we also have queries that we have established now that we use queries. So when you submit a settlement journal, we're going to go in and pull a query that would tell us all the information about your voucher. And then we take that voucher and we will compare it to your settlement journal, making sure everything is lined up So that, and also on the query, it'll show if there's a deposit or if there's an additional voucher. So we're making sure everything is lined up before we approve your settlement journal. And if it doesn't line up, we're not going to approve your settlement journal. I don't know if some departments have noticed an increase in the denials, but it's the ultimate goal is to be able to close this open items, be able to say, this person has settled, given back all the money, everything is good, and we can close the open items. So,
Can we do this at the department level?
yes, we have a screen, we're going to get in the resources to do all, yes. What resources are available for me, for help for the departments? If you look at your handout, there are a couple of resources that I'm really excited about. When I first started departments, I realized departments weren't aware of the resources they have available. The first one you'll have in your page number 2, in your handout, this is a working guide. It's really, really good to tell you about cash advances, how to start it from A to Z. So when you get back, I don't have the link here, but when you get back, if you're searching the directory, working with cash advances, then you'll pull up this guide. I don't know if some of you have that, but it's a great, great guide. Let's look at page number 3 to talk about this resource you have. This is a review status online screen within your Connect Carolina. And to get there, you will go to Review, General Ledger, Open Items, Review Status. And this is going to talk about, it's going to tell you about all the information about a particular vendor. So you do need to make sure you fill out your business unit, the ledgers, the open item in your inquiry, and your journal from date. You want to make sure the to date is the current date, that date on the end. Make sure that's the current date. And then the next line, you're going to scroll down over until you get to the open item key, and that's where you would enter your open item number. And then you would click on search. And then that brings up all the open item information for this particular vendor. So say if this is Brett's open item number, it tells us that Brett has all these open item transactions. And so what you want to do is click on each individual line, and that will show you the vouchers, that will show you the settlement journal there, and why. The question is why these are not closed. Have they gone beyond the 60 days? Or is there a problem with the codes or chart bill stream? So this is something departments can really look at to monitor their cash advances. The second resource we have is, if you flip over to page 4, we have queries. These are queries we have developed, and we use these. So you have queries departments can pull down and start using. You have a query where you can enter just the individual open item number. Then you have a query, the summary one, the someone, where you can pull up for your department a report that shows all the cash advance transactions and all the open item numbers. If you flip over to page 5, I have an example of that query. It says open item summary. So for this particular department, we have customers. Let's look at customer B. On your customer B, the number of open items is 14, and it gives a dollar amount, total amount, and it breaks it down with age. How long has this been out there? 30 days, 31 days, over 90 days. That cash advance has not been reconciled. So this query is really, really good. Your department wants to know, and really should know, okay, for my employees, have they settled all the cash advances? Or is there something else that needs to be done?
Yeah, so yes, sir. In the department and somebody else was on cash advance before, was there ability to do cash advance without putting the open item number in the past?
In the past?
Right.
Well, I know for OSR, they do cash advances and they do not use the open item number. But I don't.
Meaning, if this is going by open item, so if you don't have that number, it wouldn't be here.
Right. If you did not use that open item number.
Right.
But you can do a different type of query. You can run a query based on the account, look in the ledger balance, just to get the account on one cash advances. That way, also putting your partner. That's another level of cash advances.
Okay. So use these. They're really good. Very, very helpful. I'm very excited that we have a tool now where we can track better, and the departments can track it better also.
I'm wondering, why is it so complicated? Well, it's just the structure, Connect Carolina and how it's set up that we're forcing you to have the voucher, the journal, the deposit, all of the chart field strings, all be exactly right. So there's plenty of places for user error in there and where it can be messed up. And, like I said, we've approved some journals that we probably should not have. But we're going to work with the different departments to get all of the open items reconciled. Cash advances that are still outstanding. All right, so now we're going to try and have a little bit of fun, and let's play UNC's favorite cash advance game. The winner gets to have 500 Zimbabwean dollars. Right. So we're going to play Will It Reconcile?
If you turn to page 8, you have that in your handout. Okay. So I'll just describe this. This is a cash advance from the voucher stage to settlement journal, and they had a deposit to go with it. It was a cash advance for $1,250. When we review to close this out or to reconcile it, we're looking at the journal description, that top row up there. We're looking at the funds, source account, department amount, open item key. We're going to look to see if there's a program code there, a cost codes, so we see if that's has been completed. So that's what we're looking at. So take a moment to look at this and let us know, will this cash advance be reconciled?
You can raise your hand when you have an answer and tell us why.
I'm gonna say no, because these sources are different.
Right. Yes. Any other reason?
Sources are different.
Yes.
There. Any other reasons why?
The cost code, 2, they don't have it listed on the other two.
That's right. Good. Good pickup. Anybody else? Anything else? There's, I think, at least one other reason. That's right. Journal line description is not using the naming convention. And that's important because you can have maybe 10 different cash advances out there in the system. When we pull up your open item, we may not know that this journal is associated with this cash advance, or this deposit is associated with this cash advance. So we can go in and accidentally reconcile, cash advance to the settlement journal to the wrong thing. So that's why the naming convention is very helpful. Any other reasons? You guys got it.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's
All right.
great for your money.
Yeah.
And we have one more also.
One more.
Let's see if the same one, same lines attached.
This time I'll give you 1,000 Iranian riyal. Yes, ma'am. Sorry? Right.
The bottom one, the bottom line.
It's on the bottom.
I'm sorry. This should be from the
Yeah, the drop. So what you think? Yeah, this is one that makes me happy. Yes, because it is indeed our goal to improve your settlement journals and to be able to close your overnight. So it just has to be right. So this is a very good one. The journal line, starting with the voucher, this is the first document that's created. The journal line description is great. They did the settlement journal, the same format. They had a deposit, the same format. The fund, the chapter string, the fund, the source, all of those matches on those 3 documents. The account number is correct. The department is good. The amount is great. And then the codes on the end, they all are there. So this is one we would be very, very happy.
Okay, so in summary of the last slide, all chart field values must be all the same on your voucher, your journal entry, your deposit, to include fund, source, account, department, program, project ID, cost code 1, cost code 2, cost code 3, open item, all of those, all the same on everything. You can use this general ledger open item review status online to look up your open items. And you can also use some of the queries that we've given to you see what's out there for your department. And now that we know, cash event journals will never be turned down. And we're happy to take questions. Yes, sir.
So, like a lot of cash advances we do for studies, and most of the time they're expected to be over 60 days. Right? I mean, so what did you guys suggest? Right? Meaning we get out $5,000 for, and they're gonna bring in like 100 people, give them $50 a piece until they get the amount of people, but it might take 90 days. So we would, time in 60 days, we would reconcile, deposit left over, and then get another one.
Is this, you in OSR?
I'm not.
You're not. OSR, tends to take longer stuff.
Is it, I think they, what would see if I want to say they changed their policy.
60 days before subcontractor.
Like we've done them with against FNA too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, basically we haven't finished spending the money, but we need to reconcile. And it would basically we'd have to get another.
That's
Also,
what, yeah.
that's the policy. There's UNT cases and coming after you. I'm not going to do that long walk from my office. Take the money out of your bank account. We just encourage you to do it. You know, there are also new payment methods coming out. You've got prepaid cards if you don't want to do cash advances to be able to do research studies. Hopefully soon we'll have like a Venmo or some type of payment where we don't even need plastic cards. You can just email and text payments directly into people's bank accounts if they so choose or set up for that. So that's kind of what's on the horizon for us in the cash management.
Are you pushing everyone to go to prepaid?
We are encouraging that.
I
We
mean,
did a lot.
I know our department used, I think we were one of the, I guess the, testing groups. Yes, I think they really liked it. That's what you ultimately want everyone to eventually go to.
Yes. If that's a better or safer method, they have to really press it.
So we can encourage as we're working like on the pre-award side, developing your budgets and stuff, so let them know. They kind of know up front, you know, this is what has to happen. So allow yourself time, you know, just it's more of a communication to our groups.
Yeah. We're changing the way we're doing prepaid cards to make it quicker and easier for studies to come on. So there's not a lot. Any other questions? Cash advances, cash in general?
Well, you were talking about prepaid cards. Is it one card per patient, or is it one card per studies applications and more than one study?
Unfortunately, right now, the way it's set up is if they're in more than one study, they'll have multiple cards. There is, the way that we're changing this is instead of having it set up by study, it's set up by department. So if that person is by chance in multiple studies within that same department, you could potentially give them one card and then you know the value onto that. That's one of the disadvantages of prepaid administration tool. It's on a state contract. Bank of America won that. It's not as nimble, I think, for research payments as opposed to other platforms like Greenfire or some platform. With that platform, you can look up that study participant. If they already have a Greenfire card, you can automatically load onto that. No matter if they go to a different school, if they go to a different, but the way we're set up now, it would be multiple cards.
Do you use more than Bank of America?
The university? Yeah, we got.
Really? And it's not all just managed
Wells Fargo, Bank of America, SunTrust, Australia, New Zealand, all that to Scotland, you name it. Most folks do research. Any other questions? Cash advance, cash account? No? Thank you all very much.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.